Hi, folks. I'm Jamie Hiles.
I'm Lydia Judy.
I'm Derek.
Wow. This is Screen Bloody Movies, the podcast where we review a horror movie each week. Go over the horror news, and Derek goes by one name, like Oprah. How are you guys doing today?
I could pull that off.
Wonderful.
Oh, good to hear. How about you, Derek?
I'm okay. I'm gonna try and stay awake through this.
We have that fight every week.
I have been known to fall asleep. It happened at least once or twice.
Dude, it definitely fully happened one episode. I remember. Because Lydia and I were just like, Derek! And you were like... It was fucking wild, by the way.
Hilarious.
That was when we were living with Quincy's parents because of the house fire. Yeah, I remember
That's right.
that.
Yeah. That was.
We had a newborn baby. It was a stressful time.
Excuses.
Mm-hmm.
Excuses.
I mean,
Back in my day, so you're already yawning. This is off to a terrible start.
I told you I was going to try and stay awake.
Good Lord.
That wasn't a lie.
Welcome to the show, guys. We are going to be doing, as you know, The Crow. The not quite horror movie, but horror-tinged, supernatural action flick, directed by Alex Proyas, from 1994. But before we get into The Crow, I wanted to touch on some horror news. Let's start with this one. This is going to make you guys laugh, because it made me laugh. So, they were interviewing Sarah Michelle Gellar, and she rules out that she's going to be in the I Know What You Did Last Summer sequel.
How dare she? That movie brought her quite a decent amount of almost fame. She was already famous.
She was.
I hate when actors don't return to properties that they made them.
Especially when they're dead already, right?
There's always an excuse, man. Always.
So yeah, her character's dead, of course. So, of course she's not returning. Why would she? That would be absurd. Though, to be fair, Ben Williamson just returns all the time, doesn't he? So
Exactly.
can't keep old Ben down.
Yep.
He'll always be back. All right. This next bit of horror news is kind of interesting. I don't know. We might have briefly touched on this, but David F. Sandberg is directing a movie adaptation of Until Dawn, the video game. Do you guys remember us talking about this?
Until Dawn.
No.
Yeah. So Until Dawn was like a PS4 era. I think it's around that era. It was one of those narrative games, right? Where you basically pick what happens, like you take this path, and then this happens to these characters, that sort of thing, right? The game was really cool. Hayden Panettiere was in it, and a couple other people. But they're doing like a movie adaptation of it, which seems interesting. It centers around a group of 8 teenagers who decide to vacation for a night in a cabin on a fictional Blackwood mountain, exactly 1 year after the disappearance of 2 girls, the twin sisters of a member of the group. Shortly after arriving, the gang find themselves under attack by a psychopath that must attempt to survive until sunrise. The game is
fun.
good. The game
Sounds
is
fun.
good. I played the game. Actually, Jake's played it with me, and Jordan did for sure. That was during the period where Jordan would come over and play all those games with me. We Outlast and shit. So that's interesting. I think it sounds pretty cool, and that's that's one that would lend itself to a movie adaptation because it's a story-driven experience anyway. Guys, we announced not too long ago that Mike Flanagan's Hush is heading to, stream digital and 4K release, which is amazing. So we're going to get physical media of Hush. Well, guess what? Also, it's heading to theaters next week for a special engagement run.
Oh.
Yeah, the event screening will feature a live stream Q&A with Mike Flanagan and Kate Siegel. So that's really freaking cool. We'll have to look and see if it's showing near us, because I would be down with that. That'd be pretty cool to see. We still have to do that movie after the Halloween season. We'll probably hit that one up, I think. What do you guys think?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because it definitely deserves one, right? Of view. And then
for sure.
Then last, but not least, Creative Assembly has announced a new Alien Isolation sequel. So it's this video game. They made an Alien game called Alien Isolation several years ago. Remember that, Lydia?
Yeah, I do.
It was incredibly good. It was so scary, so suspenseful. They're making a new one, which, with next-gen console graphics and abilities, that's going to be, like, even scarier, I think. What do you guys think?
I remember watching my friend play that, and yeah, I remember I never got into like actually playing horror video games, but that one did look pretty suspenseful.
It's 10 years ago is when it came out. It came out 10 years ago. And Jordan, I think, rented it. And that's the first time I played it. And I watched him play it. And I was like, oh, so, was it like Aliens is what I'm thinking. You're going to fight you're like a Marine. You're fighting a horde of these guys. Nope, it's like the first Alien. And it's terrifying. It's, like Friday the 13th style mechanics. You have to hide from the alien, but it's story-driven. And I remember just being like, the Xenomorph is scary AF, guys.
Yeah, you actually feel like it's running at you.
Yeah. So, Derek, you're all for those kind of interactive horror experiences. You like the Friday the 13th game.
Yeah, I mean, I only watched you play it because, finding time to play a video game nowadays is challenging. I can't wait till I retire, man. I'm gonna I'm gonna divorce my wife and just start playing video games in my basement in my underwear.
That's quite a lofty goal you have for yourself.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's definitely gonna be a regression.
Listen, you don't have to retire to do that. I know people that do that.
I know, anyway. But, I've got things to do between now and then, so I figure, I'll just push it till I retire. And some people want to travel, some people want to do other things, not me. I don't want to sit around, order pizza, drink some beers, and play video games.
It reminds me of Office Space when he's like, what would you do with $1 million? Nothing. And he's like, shit, you don't need to be rich to do that. My cousin doesn't have a job and he doesn't do shit.
That's good. That's funny.
Yeah, that's a great movie, guys, by the way. Office Space is just next level great.
Quincy does not like Office Space.
Yeah, I can see why that divorce is happening now. Got it now. And that wraps up the horror news. Like I said, we didn't have a lot to go off this week. I will say that at the time of this recording, Terrifier 3 is about to be released in theaters this weekend. We just talked about it last week, and it's trending to do pretty decent business, at least $12 million, maybe more, in its opening weekend, which is great. It looks like it's going to make more money than Joker in its second weekend, because that movie bombed, folks. So,
dang.
Yeah.
Well, when you force a director to do something they don't want to do.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. So that's the horror news. So, guys, tonight we're doing The Crow. Picture it.
Yes.
It's 1994. You know what Jamie's favorite movie of 1994 was, right? The Mask.
No.
Nice.
Without question. Or Ace Ventura, when the Pet Detective. Or Dumb and Dumber. It's one of the 3 Jim Carrey classics that came out in 1994.
Good Lord.
Oh, also, Pulp Fiction came out in 94 as well. 1994 was no slouch of a year. No slouch.
I guess. Those are all, like, really good movies.
Yeah. I mean, I quote Dumb and Dumber, not to brag, but I quote Dumb and Dumber literally on a daily basis, so...
Dude, I quote Ace Ventura on a daily basis.
It's a good one, too, yeah. Yep. Derek, do you quote any Jim Carrey movies on a daily basis? It has nothing to do with the movie we're talking about, but...
Not on a daily basis. Sometimes I do the big gulps. Mm-hmm. Big gulps, huh? Okay. See you later.
Yeah, it's a great one. Kick His Ass Seabass is another great one to say.
I used to say that one quite a bit.
Yeah,
but
Kick His Ass Seabass.
I don't say that one. Blank Check came out in 1994. You guys remember that movie?
Yeah, Blank Check is wild.
I don't remember that.
Little Giants came out in 1994.
Yeah, another classic, another one I watched ad nauseum on VHS.
My goodness, man. Actually, the first movie I ever owned on DVD, which was It Could Happen to You, came out in 1994.
What a DVD purchase that was, by the way.
Yeah, I got it for free from my uncle.
Oh, okay. He's like, I don't want this shit. Here you go.
Whatever. I love that movie.
Yeah, I know
Nicolas
you do.
Cage movie.
So, yeah, 1994. What I'm saying is 1994 was a watershed year for film. And smack dab in the middle of this was The Crow. And, you know, we can't talk about The Crow without talking about everything that surrounds The Crow. The tragedy surrounding the movie as well, which we'll get into. But I want to know when you guys first became aware of The Crow. Was it after it came out? Obviously, Lydia, you were one. I think.
In the womb.
Yeah,
I was one.
She was 1 year old. 1 year old when that came out. So, but let's talk about your guys' first experience with it, and then we'll move from there.
Well, I can tell you mine.
Go for it.
Mine was hearing about it from the older girls on my school bus. They were absolutely obsessed with Brandon Lee in this movie. They just were all about him. They were talking about it, and I always remember vividly just hearing them talk about it like all the time. And I was just like, man, I gotta see this movie. Like, what is this about? And they kind of remind me of like the little girl in this. Like, they were like tough girls, you know, like that. You like would not want to mess with these girls at all. So that, I don't know. It kind of just it really takes me back to like being a kid watching this. But I also did watch it. I've watched it several times. Like, I couldn't tell you how many, but enough to be quotable.
Yeah, then you know, and you know the beats.
Yeah.
How about you, Derek?
So I was 11 when this movie came out.
Wow.
Now, I know. In saying that, did I? I definitely didn't watch this at the theaters. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to coax anybody to take me in. So it had to be a VHS rental. And I've watched this movie so many times because I love this movie. It's one of my favorite movies to watch. And so I couldn't tell you the first time I watched it. I know I've seen it a bunch.
Yeah, I think I remember my first time watching this. So I saw the trailers for the movie. I knew about the tragedy with Brandon Lee. For reference, I was 8 years old when this movie came out. So I remember and then also that was pre-internet, at least pre-everybody having internet, 1994. Mm-hmm. So basically the only information you got was from the news or through the grapevine. And I remember, learning about his death and everything, and then finding out, or, watching the movie and not know. And I remember vividly us watching it, and somebody that was with us was like, this is the scene where he got shot. It was during the big shootout. And that, for a while I believed that because I was 8 years old. That's not the case, obviously. That footage does not exist. Mm-hmm. Footage does not exist. It's not in here. But I remember watching this movie for the first time and on VHS, and I really liked it. And then, of course, I've watched it several times after. Like you guys, I've seen it. It's part of pop culture, so I've seen it anyway. I've seen it on TV. I also remember my cousin Joey, who Derek and I grew up with, was obsessed with this movie. This is one of his favorite movies. So I think with Joey, I've watched it at least 3 times, probably more. But he had the VHS, then the DVD of it. I remember us watching it. And so, yeah, I've always had like a affinity for this movie. But I've never had, my love wasn't as deep as some other people's that I know. I've always thought it was a cool movie and a pretty interesting. The story is really cool. And the visuals of the movie are great. There's just some weirdness going on, but I think a lot of that is due to the behind the scenes stuff. Because I think now when you watch it from a 2024 lens, you can see the points where body doubles were used. You can see where some of the early CGI replacement was used. That sort of stuff you kind of see now. And there's parts of the story that you feel like Eric should be more present in, but maybe he wasn't because of what happened.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Where do you guys want to start with this?
I mean, you know what? Let's start with like the tone of this movie. The tone of this movie is pretty dark all the way through, from the beginning to the end. And there's I don't know, if I were a dark, brooding person, this would definitely be like the city I would want to not grow up in, because, dear God, every year they have a fire. That just sounds terrifying. But I don't know, I think that the way that the cinematography in this movie, like the tone that they set was real strong.
So, yeah, I think the tone of this movie, I don't think it's overly dark. I think it's has that Gothic feel, similar
100%.
to like Batman '89. I think that's kind of what their goalpost was. That's kind of what they were. That was their North Star, was something like Batman '89 or the director's previous movie, Dark City. I think that was kind of like the North Star of this thing.
Did not know that he did Dark City, but now that you say that, makes perfect sense.
Perfect sense, right? Yeah. So I think that's where the visual style comes from. The the over stylized, plus the original James O'Barr comic books. A lot of the styles obviously borrowed from that as well, as far as the aesthetics and the overall feel. What do you think, Lydia?
I can't help but feel very Batman and very Joker, I was just kind of thinking of all the different Jokers throughout time when I was watching this. And I know it's not, I don't think it's trying to be Joker or anything like that, but his performance, I guess, mainly is what it's
I think it's
kind of dark and playful at the same time.
He's 100% an anti-hero.
Yeah.
I think it's more after Heath Ledger's performance in The Dark Knight. I think that's because there's similarities as far as the look, the longer hair, that sort of thing. I think we kind of draw those parallels now. I think Eric Draven as a character is, obviously a tragic character, but he also has moments of levity where his personality shine through, and I think that's important to kind of humanize him. So nobody wants to we haven't seen The New Crow yet, but from what I heard, nobody wants to watch an hour-and-a-half movie of somebody just being miserable the whole time, right? You want to have some breaks of levity, some cathartic moments, because the movie doesn't wallow in the misery. It sets the tone, and then we're off on this adventure, essentially, with this character getting his vengeance.
Yeah. Something that always catches me off guard, I guess maybe not now because I've seen it so many times, but dude, the humor in this movie, whenever it is present, it's pretty good though. Like, there's some lines in this movie. Like, one of them is Fun Boy whenever he's putting all the needles in him. And he's like, dude, you're wasting it.
Yeah.
That cracked me up. I had to rewind it and listen to it again. It was
There's a line in this movie that makes me laugh that only because of my life experience. It's when the guy in the car calls Skank an ass hair. And that is
Makes
a
you
Joey
think of
line.
Joey?
Joey uses that line all the time. He's like, "Look, get out of here, you ass hair." And so as soon as he said it, I was like, "Ah, yes, Joey."
Nice.
What a funny line, too. What just a weird insult to call somebody. Everybody needs to bring that one forward. That one needs to be like a number one insult. That's a classic.
Yeah, there are a few of those 90s insults in here.
Yeah,
You
there
know,
are.
One, I'm going to talk about my favorite scene. So my favorite scene in this movie is, so he kidnaps or is in the backseat of T-Bird's car, and they go to the pier. Like that scene with those two where, Brandon Lee's character really isn't saying anything, but it's starting to click now with T-Bird, and he's like, I know you. I knew you, but you can't be you. And then he recites that like little line, and you just feel like the impact of that, like that dialogue and that character, and like what that is. Like he's feeling that emotion at that moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's pretty impactful, and then he puts a grenade or whatever that thing is in his lap and
blows him up.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's talk about T-Bird for a second, because this cast is great. David Patrick Kelly
really
is
good.
T-Bird, and he's one of my favorite actors. He's in everything. Of course, you know him the most from The Warriors. Come out to play.
That's him.
That's him. That's
How
T-Bird.
did I not?
Yes.
How did I not realize that?
He's also.
I could tell he was really good though. Like I could tell he was like a top-notch actor. I just couldn't place him.
He's also one of my all-time favorite henchmen in Arnold Schwarzenegger's Commando. He plays Sully. There's the great bit where Arnold's holding him over a bridge with one arm, and then he makes him confess to everything, and he's like, "Hey, Sully, remember when I said I'd kill you last? Yeah, I lied." He drops him. It's the fucking best. He also has the best line where Rae-Dawn Chong's character, he tries to flirt with her, and she politely turns him down, and he calls her a fucking whore. Just like that's what whores do. It's not sleep with skeezy weirdos at the airport. Get the fuck out of here. Yes, that's a great. What do you guys? Let's talk about the performances, because he's great. We'll talk about Brandon Lee here in a minute. But this supporting cast is great because we have Ernie Hudson, and he's phenomenal. What a great supporting character.
He is. Love him.
Yep.
He's so good. He's so likable. And then you have Tony Todd.
Yep.
I forgot Tony Todd was in this. I was like, wait, what?
He plays Grange. I forgot about him too. John Polito as Gideon is also great. We know that actor all the time. He's in tons of stuff too. And then the actor that plays Skank is good, and Michael Massey as Fun Boy is great, and all those guys are good.
Skank is great, man. That scene that leads to the pier scene is just hilarious.
Yeah,
where he
Skank
goes in
is
to
wild.
Skank is he's something else. You know what? This is gonna sound terrible, but he reminds me of my brother.
No, I agree. I can see it.
The sporadicness in his behavior and just like,
Yep, I can see it.
it really hit home.
So the other thing is we've got to talk about Michael Wincott as top dollar, guys, because Michael Wincott's always great. He's got such a great look and the most amazing voice ever. So
right,
him as top dollar. What do you guys think? I think he rules.
Great hair.
Oh, I agree. Like, he is just he really has a presence, especially in this movie. But like, yeah, I agree. I love that casting.
He's so good.
He's creepy
I always
too.
think, oh
He is
yeah,
creepy.
oh yeah. That's what I love about him. He's creepy. He's so great in Robin Hood too. Like, I love him in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and just like
Three Musketeers.
Three Musketeers. He's also awesome. Yeah, he's just always so good. He just got like such a great voice, and presence about him. And so, and then Sarah, the little girl, she's fine. She's not the strongest child actor I've ever seen in my life.
I like her a lot. I think she is so genuinely casual. It's like perfect. And like I said, I knew girls like that. Like, maybe not as tough as this little girl, but like they thought they were as tough as this little girl, you know? Like the choker necklaces and the hair and like all of that.
Oh no, she looks great.
Dude.
Yeah, she looks great.
She did great, I thought. I loved her.
It had to be like 10 years ago I looked up some of the cast in this movie just to kind of see where are they now.
Yeah.
And from what I can recall, and it's been a while, but I think that this movie really had a hard impact on her life.
Really?
Yeah, with the tragedy that happened.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Well, if I remember correctly, I think she like later in life turned to drugs and some stuff.
Well, I know that she is in the sequel, right? She's in the Crow 2.
The character is, but I don't think
the
that
character
the actress
is.
Yeah, she's the love interest in the Crow 2 City of Angels, which is
Right.
a great movie.
Right. The
It
character
has its pros
is.
and cons, but
Yeah, she actually has started acting again. She was in a movie called Revenge of the Devil Bat in 2020, and in a movie called Die Daisy Die that was filmed in 2013 but came out in 2024. In Hell House, she was in that as well. So it looks like she started working again recently, so that's good.
good for her.
Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, she's good. She was fine. But let's talk about Brandon Lee, because this was his movie. This was going to be his star-making role. I mean, he already was pretty popular. Of course, he's the son of Bruce Lee. You know, I mean, that's some big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
And he had done quite a few. He'd done a couple of films before this. By the way, Showdown in Little Tokyo with he and Dolph Lundgren, fucking excellent. Watch that if you've never seen it. Have you seen that, Derek?
Yeah.
It's so good, right?
I mean, I haven't seen that movie since the 90s, but yeah, I've seen it.
I watched it actually, like, I think last year. Because I was thinking about it. I was like, man, I haven't seen that movie in forever. And I found it streaming, and I was like, definitely going to fucking watch that one.
Dude, do you remember this? He's not in it, but do you remember The Perfect Weapon? Do you remember that movie?
Perfect Weapon. Who's in that?
It had the one guy who... Oh, man, I don't know his name. So the like main bad guy always took a flower out of his like thing and put it in his pocket, and then like when he killed the people...
Jeff Speakman.
Whatever. It was a good movie for the how old I was.
Mariska Hargitay was in that movie.
Who?
Freaking Benson from Law and Order SVU. Olivia Benson. She's been on that show literally for like 20 some years. So.
Oh yeah.
She's great, but yeah, she's in that movie. That's funny. The Perfect Weapon. They were like, "Hey, Lethal Weapon's real hot, guys. Let's find another weapon. This one's the perfect one."
Dude, I Because back in the 90s, man, martial art movies, like, if you
They
were a kid,
yeah.
you were
Yeah.
there.
And they were really big on VHS, so they're really big direct-to-video. There's a big direct-to-video market for these martial art movies. Like, Don the Dragon Wilson made like 15 fucking black belts and blood fists. Like,
Ring of Fire, I remember that one.
dude, my mom had Columbia House. You know, I told you guys about this before. She had the Columbia House subscription for VHSs. And so whenever I saw the box at the, you know, on the doorstep, I always got excited. But you don't know my disappointment when I opened it up and it was like Blood Fist fucking 5. I'm like, this must have been an Allen pick. My stepdad must have picked this one. Because they just weren't that great. But we owned a lot of them. But that's how I knew who Don the Dragon Wilson was. Which became a fixture of Joey and I's fake trailers later in life. But back to The Crow, Brandon Lee. What do you guys... I mean, let's talk about him. Let's talk about his performance in this movie, specifically.
Inspiring.
It was quite...
say.
Yeah, you know, he... I don't know, the tragedy really overshadows a lot of it. Yeah, I mean,
I tried not to think about the tragedy while I'm watching the movie. Like, I just put it out of my head because it really can, like, just destroy the movie for you if you're thinking about it. It's so terrible to think about.
How old was he when he was like in his early 30s?
Yeah, he was extremely young. He was... No, he's 28.
That's even worse.
Yeah, 28.
Son of a bitch, man.
Yeah. He's a
28.
kid. He's a kid, yeah.
Yeah.
So, his performance in this movie is really good. It was a star-making... Yeah. It was a star-making performance because he's able to... Like we talked about, he's able to emote these, you know, have these, like, deep emotions and show, like, his vulnerability, like the scenes with her in the, you know, the flashbacks we get of him and Shelley, that sort of stuff, and then his tragedy. But he also was really able to relay the personality, his personality, right? Like the funny stuff that he says, and like the like humanity that's in this guy that just has no idea what he's doing here and has no idea what happened. He's trying to kind of come to terms with it. I think certain scenes would have been way more impactful if he were still alive to film them. The guitar playing scenes come to mind because those were 100% done by a double. You could tell because we never, ever see his face during any of those shots. So I think there's some like stuff that the meat on the bone that he would have been able to like flush out. But his performance is definitely like a movie star. It was a movie star making performance. He'd have been a movie star after this.
Yeah,
for sure.
He would have been.
So as we know, there were several scenes that had to be filmed with a body double or probably rewritten. And then there's one scene specifically where they put like an early version of a CGI face on him, which is actually the first time we see him as the Crow pushing into the window. That's that one, the little lightning shot after he paints his face. Which, by the way, good thing he was a big WCW fan and he had that Sting mask just sitting right there at the mirror.
Yep, very fortunate. Very fortunate.
Good job. But, I mean, we'll talk about the influence of this movie afterwards here shortly. But the scenes that I think I feel it the most are this couple of scenes with he and Sarah. You can tell that it's a body double. Like, I think she actually talked about it. There's the scene in the loft where she's
Yeah.
Talking about Eric and talking to him before he shows up in the window. She was actually thinking about Brandon at that same time because he was gone, and they had to film that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then there's also the scene that you were talking about with T-Bird. I think that was done with body doubles as well. A lot of the stuff.
It would make sense because he wasn't saying anything.
He doesn't say anything, and we don't really see his face except for a couple of disconnected closes, right? So I think because we see a lot of close-ups of his hands and the back of him doing stuff, the back of him lighting up. So I think that that's body double stuff too. But so that stuff is what it is. But that's interesting. The fact that this movie works as well as it does, seamlessly. If you didn't know somehow, if nobody told you the tragedy behind the movie, and the accident that killed Brandon Lee, you would have no idea that occurred. I don't think, because I don't think it messes with the story or the pace of the movie.
Nope.
No, I didn't even notice the body doubles. Honestly, I didn't even notice them. But like I said, I just put it out of my head because I was like, I don't know. I just needed to.
So,
I needed
Lydia,
to,
I'm curious. I'm pretty sure Jamie knows this. One, he's a film historian, but so do you know how what happened?
Something about a gun being loaded improperly or something. Blanks.
Well, yeah. So they had two different types of shells, right? So ones that didn't have anything in them, but they had a cap, and then ones that had everything but the tip of the bullet. And so the ones that just had the tip of the bullet, they didn't remove the cap, the firing cap. And so there wasn't any gunpowder in it, but whenever it went off, it had just enough power to push the bullet part of the way through the barrel. They heard the pop, but they didn't know really what had happened. So later, whenever they put a blank bullet in there, which is a bullet without the tip, created a full-fledged bullet. And there's the scene with in the Darla's apartment, not Darla, no, Fun Boy's apartment. They're that, not necessarily. Jamie said they didn't film it, but that's where it happened. I'm pretty sure. But I Jamie, was mistaken because I heard that it happened during that firing scene when we were growing up.
Yeah, so it was actually the scene where, Fun Boy shoots him.
Yeah.
And he, and he actually shot him, and Lee went down, and they figured it was, they thought it was acting at first, and then he didn't get up, and they saw what happened. They immediately rushed him to the hospital, and he didn't make it. Just a tragedy. It was very important to change the rules regarding gun safety, which unfortunately we had to revisit in 2020 with the accidental shooting of Elaine Hutchinson, which is tragic as well. But it does bring up some kind of questions about use of firearms in films, at least improperly, right? Mm-hmm. Quentin Tarantino was just recently on a podcast, and they were talking about it, and he was talking about you have to do it safely, but you also have to think about the hundreds of thousands of films,
100%,
that have been made with gunfire and blanks and squibs, and there have been no accidents. So, but that complacency, so you can't let it creep in, right? I mean,
The Matrix, man. The Matrix.
Yeah, I mean, the lobby shootouts. So actually, while I was watching this, the shootout scene where the big action scene, the set piece of the movie, where all the guns are firing and he massacres everybody in the club. I was thinking about the Matrix during that scene because the leather jacket and stuff, but that scene in this movie is pretty good. There's a couple of pretty cool parts, but it's kind of chaotic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's nothing that like kind of stands out about it. It's just kind of cool seeing him like whipping around and shooting guys, but there's no like real geography, I don't feel like. And it got my brain thinking about the Matrix in the lobby shootout and just how fucking amazing the choreography and the screen direction and the stunt work is in the lobby shootout. Because it's at another level. It's still almost untouched, I think. I remember watching that thing for the first time and just being like, especially after the scene ends and like they get in the elevator and then the shit just falls off and you're like, that was cinema. That was crazy.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the geography of the shootout could have been better. But man, it's so fun because of the gothicness of it. Like, it's just so rock and roll.
It is. It's cool because of just like the vibes. You're there for the vibes and you're feeling it.
Exactly.
And you're like, yeah, he's kicking ass, but you're also kind of like, I don't know where we are in this room. and there's like been 5 guys that have been thrown out of windows, and I don't know which windows these are.
Yeah.
Like, everybody just dies by getting thrown out of a window. One time they crash on the band. You're like, I guess they're above the band. Like, your geography is just kind of jabberwocky. But you're in the scene because you care about the character at that point, and you care about the journey, and you're ready for him to just kick this guy's ass and kick all these guys' ass. You're like, in the fact that he says, like, you're all going to die, and you're like, yeah, get Skank's ass. And then
Skank's dead.
Yeah. Fucking Skank is wild.
Skank is.
I really like when they're like talking about him, like while he's in front of them, and they're like, "Should we get a camera and like watch this back in slow motion?"
That's one of my favorite scenes. It's one of my favorite lines. Is the way he says that. He's like, "Should we videotape this and watch it back in slow motion?" Because he's just like, "What?" And then he's just like, "Fire it up, fire it up." He's like, "Good God,
that was great."
Or the scene in front of like all the boss people, and he was like, "You son, what's your name?" Or something like that. He's like, I feel like a big worm I feel like a little worm on a big fucking hook.
Yeah. Skank is something else. But yeah, I love Michael Wilcott's Top Dollar's like reactions through a lot of these scenes, but that especially because he's just like, this guy's up here tweaking, and he's like down here like mellowed and like, blah 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 with his little lines and stuff. And then, like, I mean, I love how they, at the beginning, as soon as we meet them, they're like, we want you to know these are the villains. So there's going to be a dead woman in the bed with them, and the one woman's going to talk about her cutting her eyes out. And you're just, Top Dollar's like, I guess we broke her. And you're like, what the fuck?
Yes,
That's so messed up. That's so crazy. And like, they like smoked her eyeball. Like, I don't even understand what happened there. What was going on with that?
I don't know.
You're trying to apply some sort of logic. I will say, one thing I really like, so Top Dollar has an interesting journey in this movie, right? He's one of the people, or if not, based on the way he described it, he was the person who like started the fires in the city, started Devil's Night, and he's become really complacent in life, and like he has no purpose or meaning, and he's looking for it, and his purpose becomes killing this unkillable thing, like to conquer it, like it's a prize. He's got a really interesting arc because he had no, I mean, I guess in the back end, like he had no direct involvement in what happened. It was more indirect, but it's pretty interesting.
But he does also bang his sister.
Half sister.
Yeah. It's his,
oh, that makes it so much
daughter,
better.
Okay.
Makes it so much better.
And I don't know if it's a product of the early 90s, but man, the amount of smoking in this movie just is so disturbing.
That's the vibe,
oh my
Derek.
Gosh, no. Every other scene, every other character, it's just like, ugh.
Yeah, but the guy quit.
We watched.
Thank goodness.
We watched fucking Terrifier last week or 2 weeks ago with Mutilation, and you said nothing. But this movie has cigarettes. You're like, this is one of the most disgusting displays I've ever seen.
It is. 100%, man. I felt halfway uncomfortable the entire time.
Oh man, that's so funny. Yeah, what do you guys think of the end of this movie? Like the third act? Because after that big shootout scene, the action in this movie is it's decent. It's not, none of it's like great action, right? Mm-hmm. It's story-driven action, so it's pretty good. The explosion of the car with T-Bird is good, really good.
That was great, I thought.
But then, like the fight with old Tin Man or whatever the fuck his name is, Tintin, in the alley.
Rin Tin.
It's okay, but I will say the scene in the pawn shop following it is excellent. Especially...
Right? Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Little
it's so
Edgar
good.
Allan Poe.
Yep.
Surfaces in this movie.
Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. And the scene with Fun Boy, where he kills Fun Boy, is also great because he says that great line about that joke about Jesus.
Yeah.
Here's 3 nails. Can you put me up for the night?
Mm-hmm.
I always remembered that from being a kid. I was like, oh, that's crazy. Like that shouldn't be able to be said. So provocative. Such a provocative.
Right. The little gag about so when he shoots himself in the leg and he's like, look what you've done to my sheets.
Yes. Yeah. Dude, I did not expect myself to be quoting this movie as it was happening. Like, I remembered so many of the lines. Like, they're so good.
Yeah.
I think there definitely are some cheesy moments, though. Like,
but 1,000,000%. There's some grade A cheese in this movie.
Yes.
Some of the miniature work is suspect.
Uh-huh.
You could definitely tell.
Of the city.
What are you talking about? That's definitely a city. He was definitely not sitting on some really tiny little roof playing the guitar for some reason. That roof is so comically small, I don't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm like, where is he?
The freeze frames they got me.
Those aren't great.
But they did kind of lend to the comic booky feel of it. But the first time you get a freeze frame, you're just like...
the one slow-mo shot of Eric's face after he does that, and I think it's because there was a tribute to Brandon Lee, probably.
Yes.
But
yeah,
when he's laughing at the kids and they just do that,
yeah.
I was like,
yeah.
Yeah. A lot of that did kind of feel tribute-y.
Yeah. Don't like that so much. But yeah, that's cheesy for sure. But you know what's not cheesy and is amazing is when he loads the shotgun with the rings and then shoots into the pawn shop, and we get that amazing fireball.
Oh, so cool.
And you see the rings in the coming out of the barrel of the gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
Good
shit. That's good shit.
Yeah, that actor. Did we talk about that actor?
Yes. Yeah? Yes.
Yeah. Okay, because
he's in everything. He's in everything.
Stuff.
Man, at some point you have to have some awareness, situational awareness, and not talk to someone like fucking Top Dollar like that. That guy's nuts.
Yes.
Don't talk to a nutty person like that. Don't do that. You're gonna get
But at the same time, even if he didn't talk to him like that, he probably still would have killed him. He's
I don't
crazy.
know, man. Maybe. I just felt like he felt like he insulted him, and he was like, okay.
Yeah.
Because he challenged him. He's like, what are you going to do about it? Maybe you're not so tough.
Yeah, definitely wouldn't have said that.
I would not have said that either. Been like, man, can you help me out, dude?
So that's John Polito. And
Okay.
I'm gonna name some of the films he's in that you guys would know him from. Highlander.
Yeah.
He's in Miller's Crossing. He's in The Rocketeer. He's in Barton Fink, Hudsucker Proxy, The Crow, Blank Man, Bushwhacked, which is where I always think of him from, by the way. The Big
I remember
Lebowski.
that one.
Just a small film, little Big Lebowski. Never seen it. Roadkill. I've never heard of that one. But The Green Mile. He's in The Green Mile.
Okay.
Stuart Little.
Stuart Little. Oh my god, I feel like
Yep.
that's where I recognize him from.
Yep.
I used to watch that all the time when I was a kid.
He's in so many movies. The Honeymooners, Flags of Our Father, American Gangster, Miller's Crossing. He's just in so much. He passed away in 2016 at the age of 65. He also was openly gay and married Daryl Armbuster on October 16th, 2015, 15 years after they first met. So that's nice.
What? I didn't know that.
Dang, that is crazy. That guy was so cool. I feel like his voice alone was so recognizable.
Oh, super recognizable.
Yeah.
And it's Bushwhacked for me. That's 100% where I remember him from. You remember Bushwhacked, Lydia?
I do, yeah. I think my stepbrother had that on DVD, I think, at some point, and I don't remember much about the movie, but I do remember just being like, this is insane.
I loved Bushwhacked. It was one of my all-time favorite movies when I was a kid. Daniel Stern as Mad Max Grabelski. I thought that movie was so funny. I actually watched it several years, maybe earlier this year, or maybe it was during the pandemic. Probably during the pandemic because it made me feel good. And it still holds up. It's still really funny. Like fucking
Nice.
Bushwhacked.
Nice. I probably get it a lot more now, honestly.
Yeah,
I probably
it's
didn't
pretty
really
funny.
understand some of the jokes when I was a kid, but
There's a great bit where they asked Spider to tell him about the birds and the bees. And his way of
Yes.
doing that is he borrows the dolls and he like mimes sex with them, and we see off camera, we just see him like raise them up and he's like, "Auga!" He's like, then afterwards, the daddy smokes a cigarette, watches a little Lino, and goes to sleep. So good. But yeah, the third act of this thing. What do you guys think of it? What do you guys think of this big ending?
it gets real.
It does get
They
real.
figure out they need to take the bird.
So that I don't love. I'm gonna be honest. I mean, I understand you need something to make him mortal, so that way the stakes are higher. I don't love how they figured out. She's just like, I bet you it's the bird. And he's like, probably right.
I mean,
They're just
she
so
does
weird.
kind of feel like she's got a sense of the supernatural.
Yeah.
Sure.
A little bit.
Sure.
She's been touched, as
She-
they say.
Doesn't have a sense of lipstick though, and where that's supposed to
No.
go.
I mean, she does
No.
not have that, but Lydia, come on, not everybody. does.
Yeah, like
it's like drawn like way over her lip line. Like it kills me. I like it. I think she looks great, but like I can't stop staring at her lipstick the whole time. Like
yeah. So
like clown
I don't
lips,
I
you
don't
know?
I don't quite love the way it plays out, but it's fine. I mean, it works. Like, I don't love that it's just that quick. They're like, oh, shoot the bird. Then he's like, ah, and then it like kind of is of no consequence, really, when you think about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they could have had him. I mean, they did it to up the stakes. I just don't feel like the pacing was quite right with it, but it's not a big deal. It's fine. But I do love the final fight between he and Top Dollar on the roof. I think it's a really cool visual with the rain and everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool. I mean, parts of it look kind of janky. It's, is what it is. They were dealing with the technology that they had. I'm not going to fault them for that. But I like the way that he defeats Top Dollar.
Yeah,
What do you guys think?
I agree.
How does he do it? I can't remember.
He gives Top Dollar all of
Shelley's memories.
pain.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
All of the pain, the 3 hours of pain that she went through while she was dying, he gives that to him all at once. So he experiences all of this pain and then falls off of the building and impales himself on the gargoyle. So then he feels real pain after that too. So he's fucked. He got fucked over.
Yeah. Awesome.
Do not love
that, didn't he?
Do not love the shot of Top Dollar falling because it's super pixelated and like meh. But it is what it is. Like
Just
I said,
like laying on a chair on a blue screen.
They're just shrinking down.
Derek could reenact that right now on our screen.
They do.
Because he's got a nice green screen situation happening.
What are you talking about? I thought it was real. Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. What we need to do is just keep you still, and then we just need to drag and click and just shrink you down. Zoom. That's what I think to do.
Yeah, exactly. Oh
Scaling
my God,
down.
so funny.
We're gonna do that one day. It's gonna be classic. Derek, we're gonna film that while we're making the movie. We're gonna just film that part. I'm gonna be like, Ben, come over here and film this for me. What the fuck is this for? Trust me, it's important.
We'll do it in post.
Figured it out in post. It's fine. Yeah. So what do you think, Derek? You like the third act?
I do like the third act. I could see where you're coming from a little bit. I like the aspect of the like humanizing him. Now how they figure it out. I do feel like they at least hint at it. If it was just like pull it out of a hat, they do kind of allude to it. But it's good. I really also I feel like it's like a full circle moment because he's like confiding in me. He's like, nothing happens in this city without like me giving the okay. Like I'm the one who told them to clear that building, and then like to unleash that pain that he caused this couple, like to give that back to him is just a poetic moment. So I'm glad that guy died, him and his fucking hair.
Oh wow.
Dang.
Yeah, it was halfway to being a mullet. That's what I'm saying.
His sister also gets a great death because she's all obsessed with eyes, and the crow.
Yeah.
And the crow pecks her eyes out. That's a little.
So good.
That's a little karmic moment as well.
Yes.
So yeah, and then so overall, after that, he goes back to be with Shelley and all that good stuff, and we get like a hopeful ending. It stops raining. Because it can't rain all the time. So, what do you guys think of The Crow? And is there anything you want to talk about that we missed?
I like the scene where the mom is like trying to be a good mom again.
That is important. Good call, Lydia. Because he in the scene where he murders Fun Boy, he purges her of the drugs she was using.
Yeah.
Which was so cool.
Yeah, and then basically says, hey, you have a daughter out there on the streets waiting for you. And it resonates with her. I mean, not only because she saw this Avenger, take out Fun Boy, but, it had an impact on her. That is a really nice scene the next morning.
Yeah, it really is. And I like the line that he gives to her, that mother is the word for God.
Yeah, for children.
For
on
children.
all the children's lips or something.
Yeah.
On the lips and in the hearts of all children. Either way. But yeah, it really is. And like, who knows when the last time that she was sober? You know what I mean? Like, to have purged her body of that poison and then like told her, because like one element that we really didn't talk about, like so Sarah's connection to both Eric and Shelley they were kind of like surrogate parents in a way.
Yeah.
Because this girl
Yeah.
was just on the streets, and like, you know, she said that they took care of her. Like that's a powerful thing. Like she lost
Yeah.
her guiding lights.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
They
her.
passed.
Yeah, it was basically her. Her protection, her protection in the city, and that role gets filled by Ernie Hudson's character.
Albright, yeah.
Yep, he fills that spot, which is great because we find out how good of a man he is because he stayed with Shelley the whole time, and he plays it off like, oh, I was just trying to see if she came on the other side to get some, to figure out who did
Yeah.
this. And you're like, no,
He
you did it
cared.
because you're a big softy and you're a good man. By the way, my least favorite character in this entire movie is that fucking fucked up detective. Good
Yeah.
God.
What's
What a
wrong with that
dickhead.
guy?
I don't know. The fucking asshole is his problem.
Yeah, you know. They had to have that guy in here. Otherwise,
Yeah, every time
it
he
wouldn't
came
have
on
meant as
screen, he's
much.
like, yeah, that stuff just felt a little just forced, that stuff. Because he's just like, yeah, that's why you got kicked off the foot, or that's why you got knocked down to a beat cop. Yeah, get off my crime scene. The next scene, you're holding out on me. You're suspended. You're like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's like I'm having a fever dream right now. Who are you?
Who
Fucking
are
Harvey
you?
Bullock here. Get the fuck out of here. Show up for 3 scenes and bitch at Ernie Hudson. Beat feet, my guy. Also, before we talk about the ratings, I want to talk about the impact this movie had, obviously. I mean, we have tons of multiple sequels. I think there were 4 sequels plus a TV series, and a miniseries, and the new 2024 film.
Wow.
All of them were critically not well received. Not as well received as this one, obviously.
Did you ever see Stairway to Heaven, the TV series?
I did. Yes.
It was okay.
Yeah. Sure. It was
okay.
fine. It's the same movie. It was the movie. Just told
It
in a
was
TV
the movie,
series.
yeah. Like they kept him. He didn't like go back after everything happened. He stayed there and like got a job at a bar or something like that. Anyway, it was interesting.
But
Living in the sewers and talking to rats and shit. That's what I would have done.
okay, fucking Dolph Lundgren Punisher. You knock yourself out.
I like you got my reference. Although I don't know that he talked to rats, but
But he definitely just sit there with
and meditated
with his
naked
with his ass hanging out. Yeah.
In the sewer?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dolph Lundgren.
Have you never seen Dolph Lundgren's Punisher movie from the 1989?
No.
Yeah. It's okay. It's pretty decent, but they changed a lot of did a lot of weird shit in it. Like Frank Castle just sits in the sewer naked. You just see his hairy ass.
We need to do a spin-off podcast with action movies.
We'll call it the Lundgren Hour.
Who would play Dolph Lundgren in this movie? Oh my god, I can't even talk right now.
Yeah.
Who would he play? I'm done.
So, the big one, of course, before we get into the rating, is Sting.
Yeah.
Sting, Steve Borden, the WCW wrestler, his entire persona changed after this, shortly after this movie came out, around 1996. He became the Sting that we know, with the white face, with the black lines. He became the Crow Sting, the Avenger. And so I can't help but think of Sting when I watch this movie because I grew up a huge wrestling fan, and still am, still like wrestling. But then I was a huge WCW guy, knew all about Sting and his battle against the NWO. But this movie had a huge impact, not only and also on like kind of that kind of goth culture as well embrace this movie, right? And this was kind of like their thing.
It's kind of like there's a few like 90s goth movies that have similar tones, you know. Like I don't know, the Queen of the Damned and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah. The weird rave scenes in these movies, I don't understand them. You know what? I didn't understand
My goth
it.
part.
I didn't understand it in Matrix, in the first Matrix, when they go to the fucking club and they're like, you know, when he follows the white rabbit. But I remember just, and Neo's just kind of standing. I was like, I would be Neo, because he's just like, that's what I would be. Like, what the fuck is going on here? Play some Metallica. What is this? I don't understand this noise.
It's kind of like in the Spice World movie.
Yeah, exactly like the Spice World movie. Exactly.
There's like a crazy rave scene in there, and it's like
there's also a weird rave scene in Matrix 2. Matrix Reloaded in Zion. They're just like all like fucking each other. You're like, what is going on?
It's just so goth. It's so 90s. I love it.
So 90s. So guys, it's time to give our ratings for this one. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I go first all the time. So, this movie does hold a special place in my heart. The rating I'm going to give, I also think that it's pretty fair. Like, the acting is super solid. I like the storyline. It's entertaining. But yeah, I'm going to give this movie an 8.5. I really like this movie. I've watched it a ton, and I will watch it many times beyond this.
What do you think, Lydia?
I think that's pretty fair, actually. I think I'm just going to go with an 8. But yeah, this movie, it's not a perfect movie. But it's got a lot of heart, you know? It's got a lot of heart. It's special.
Yeah.
It just is.
I 100% agree with that. I also am going to give it a 3. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to give it an 8 as well. I think there's a special sauce in this movie, and I don't know if it's... see, here's the thing. Here's where it gets kind of tricky, right? Is it because of the things that happened that make this movie as special as it is? Obviously, in a perfect world, we'd rather have a shittier movie and an alive Brandon Lee. Obviously, we take that trade-off. But there's a special, and I don't know if it's the heart that went into the movie afterwards, you know, the dedication of it. But he was super dedicated to the movie as well. So there's just a special alchemy that they've not been able to crack since, because none of the other sequels have been able to match it. And I think one of the problems with the sequels are they just keep kind of retelling the same story, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of what it is. It's always the same story. It's always guy number 2 has a relationship with somebody and they're murdered, so he comes back to avenge them. It's like, yeah, I mean, that's the same thing. And it's always some people, dude. So like the one with David, the one with Angel in it. David
Boreanaz, yeah.
David Boreanaz. Yeah.
Yeah, and Edward Furlong.
Yeah. That one's terrible. And
that one is like fucking next level terrible.
It's terrible.
That one is
and he's
so
like this
bad.
Cartoon villain again, and it's just like, what is going on here? It gets pretty rough. City of Angels is not the worst. It's okay. But yeah, that Salvation is not good, and Wicked Prayer is also terrible. Those are terrible.
Wicked
ones.
Prayer is the one with all
Edward
those other
Furlong?
actors in it. Yeah, Edward Furlong. It's
Tara
got,
Reid is also in that.
Tara Reid is in that movie. Yep.
Oh no.
Tito Ortiz is in that movie.
He is. You're right. He is in that movie.
Come on, man. Jesus.
This
I
was
can't believe David Boreanaz was in that movie.
That is weird.
All right, a little sidebar afterwards. I want to tell you guys something, but okay, so that wraps up The Crow. So guys, we got to Atkinize this movie. Who's Tom Atkins going to play in this?
Thrill me.
Oh,
Dude, I would put him as Fun Boy.
No, he'd be
I
a
don't
great.
know about that.
He'd be a great top dollar.
Maybe the pawn shop guy.
So here's the thing: if Ernie Hudson wasn't so great, he'd be great in that role.
Yeah.
So we might have to do
Typecasting,
one of
but-
those. We might have to do one of those alternate reality castings.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
if-
I think he would do good as that character.
In an alternate reality, he would do great in that role. Because I could totally see him as like the,
Dude, he would be a really good Albright.
Yeah, that's who we just said.
Oh, I thought you were
Thanks
talking
for
about the
thanks for listening, Derek.
I thought you were talking about the pawn shop guy.
I
no,
said that,
we
but-
just
Oh,
Yeah,
and
and
then,
then I
you
said-
okay.
I said Ernie Hudson, and I talked about it for like 5 minutes.
yeah. Well, you should have said his on-screen name. I would have picked it up.
Yeah, because you don't know who Ernie Hudson is.
I know who Ernie Hudson is, man. I've
That's
seen
my point.
Ghostbusters.
That's my point. But anyway, I think he'd be good in that role. You're right. I think that would be the one if it was an alternate reality, because I would not want to replace Ernie Hudson because he's really good in this. All right, that is The Crow. So, guys, as you know, next week, when we're watching this, is going to be the week of Halloween. When this airs, the week of Halloween. So, we've got a big show planned for you guys. So, what's better than watching one Halloween movie for Halloween? Lydia, what's better than that?
The only thing I can think of is watching 2 Halloween movies.
That is the correct answer.
But they're
Two
both the same
Halloween movies.
and different movies.
Kind of 2 Halloween movies. So what we're going to do is next week we are up to the 6th installment of Halloween. So for next week's episode, we are going to watch Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, and Halloween, The Origin of Michael Myers, the producer's cut. So what we're going to do is watch both of these films back to back. We're going to get here. We're going to discuss them. We're going to talk about each of their merits, their strengths and weaknesses, compare them to each other, and then we're going to rate which one is better. So we're going to have basically a live battle is what we're going to do. And we might even each pick, if one of us likes one and the other one likes the other, we'll even kind of debate them. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So Halloween 6 extravaganza, you guys have got to watch 2 Halloween movies. You guys have got to watch 2 Halloween movies for next week. So, are you excited,
Is Paul
guys?
Rudd in both of them?
Can't wait.
Well, yeah, he's in both of them.
Then I'm on board, man.
They're the same movie, just with deleted scenes in an entirely different third act. The entire third act is different, and it's kind of crazy how different they are. I can't wait for you guys to see it. Have either of you ever seen the producer's cut? You both have seen The Curse of Michael Myers. Of course. All right. So that's going to be a lot of fun, so stay tuned for that. Derek, do you have a story for us? I'm guessing not. What's your story? I went to sleep.
And I do want to go to sleep, but did I ever tell you the time I ramped my mom's car over a set of railroad tracks? Did I say that story on here?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Man. No, I don't know.
Well, hey, in honor of Skank, won't you tell a Jay story that we haven't heard?
Oh, man, I don't know if I got any of those.
Oh, you've got plenty of those that you haven't told on here. Come on. One I can think of right off the bat is, won't you tell them about the, well, I mean, it might be a little incriminating, but, you know what? Go ahead and do it. Tell them about, like, Jay's drive with your with his friend, the sister's boyfriend or whatever it was.
Huh?
The drive that Jay had, where he had a conversation with someone.
Oh, that wasn't there?
Well, now you just ruined the story, so we'll start the story here. So, yes, go ahead and tell the story.
What?
So, my brother, it's not going to be a long story. So, I was talking to Jay, and he was like, man, and I forget, like, what got us onto this conversation. So my brother was he was into drugs back in the day, and so he was on a specific drug, and I don't know if I asked him like what it was like or something like, or he just offered up the information. Either way, so he's like, "Yeah, man, I was out at our uncle's house, and who lived in Rochester at the time, and he was like, I was driving home, and Rochester to Peru is like it's a decent drive, right? So he's like, I got like most of the way home, and I'm sitting there and I'm having this like really deep conversation with, Joyce's boyfriend at the time, and he's like, and I just look over and he's not there. And then I realized I'd been talking to myself the entire time, but he had imagined that it was her boyfriend, and he was like, it was as real as you and I standing here talking, is how it felt to him. Because he had been up for like several days at this point. So I'm sure his body was like micro-napping while he was driving home.
Oh, no.
I know. And he was like, dude, I had to pull over, and it really freaked me out. I can only imagine.
Dang.
Yeah, maybe don't do drugs.
Yeah. Or he was telling me he was at my uncle's house, and he was in the garage. So I think I might have told this story, but it's so crazy. So he was like, I was out in the garage, and he was doing something. He was like tinkering with something in the garage, and he was like, somebody kept laughing at me. And I kept turning around and yelling at him, like, man, stop laughing at me. If you don't stop laughing, he had a gun. Just imagine you're somebody who like broke down in front of this fucking house. And you're like, oh man, this is like really before cell phones. I need to call somebody. Just imagine that you're in that situation. So Jay is like telling me the story. He's like, yeah, about the third time of these people laughing at me, I just turned around with that shotgun and like fired it. And I'm like, fucking what, Jay? He just fired it at the wall in the garage. I'm shocked they didn't kill somebody out there. Then I don't know that they didn't, but holy cow. He just fired the gun because he thought somebody was laughing at him. Kids, don't do drugs. It's the moral of the story.
How you feeling, Lydia? How you feeling about these stories?
Terrified.
They're terrifying.
I was terrified listening to him, yeah.
Right into the spooky season.
Yeah, the mentally ill.
Yeah.
True crime.
Then after that, Jay said, Skank's dead.
That's not me, Skank's dead. Well, this was like along the same lines of, and I've told this story, I won't retell it, but like Jay driving my mom's car out to my uncle's house and deciding to like drive back into the field where they like
all
hung
during
out and
the
had
same
bonfires.
time. Yeah.
And got my mom's car stuck. Good Lord. I will never forget that time that my uncle was like retelling, because Jay told me the story, and then my uncle was retelling it from his perspective, and I know what happened, and I'm just having to sit there and like be like, man, that's crazy. I don't know what happened.
That's so funny.
That's wild.
I don't know where your keys went.
That's crazy.
Might want to look over here, though.
Did you check the cornfield? Around the same area where your car was
I have a hunch.
I'm just asking.
You know what? You could have started your own private detective psychic office.
Yeah, I'm
what
getting
Sean
a vision,
did.
Uncle Ron.
That's what
I'm
Sean
getting a
did.
vision.
Yeah. Just start psyching out, you'd be good to go. All right, and that does it for this week. Be sure to comment down below on your thoughts on The Crow. Tell us your favorite scenes and what this movie means to you. Also, be sure to tell us what you think is the best sequel, and if we should do a sequel to this one. We might do it in the future. Just let us know. Even if it's the worst one, whichever one you guys want us to do the most is what the next one we'll do. Because I don't think continuity matters in those, right? They're just kind of all over the place.
They are.
Except for, I guess, the second one does follow it, but it's fine. So, movie news. We have the pre-launch page set up. In the description, we have the link to it. So, go down to the description, click on the link, and go and sign up for it. We have some more news coming up very soon. We should be releasing headshots soon, right, Derek? We should be releasing actors attached to the project. So casting news should be hitting you guys very soon. So help us make this movie. It's going to be exciting. You guys are going to love it. It's a lot of fun. So next week, you have to watch not one but two. You have a lot of homework this week. 2 Halloween movies. Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, and Halloween 666. The Origin of Michael Myers. The producer's cut. So, watch those and be prepared for our battle next week. So, until then, for Derek Lemaster and Lydia Judy, I'm Jamie Hiles. And remember, if you're going to scream bloody movies.